Hi, I'm Father Joseph Mary, and welcome back to A Simple Word, where we reflect on the Gospel for the coming Sunday. In this Sunday's Gospel from Matthew, Jesus uses two analogies to describe inherent characteristics of his disciples: salt and light. We often hear people today say admiringly of someone, "Guy like that, he's the salt of the earth." But what did Jesus mean when he used the word salt? What did salt mean for people living in first century Palestine? Salt was extremely valued in the ancient world. In fact, the Greeks called salt theon, divine. In that time, salt was connected with three specific qualities: purity, preservation, and flavor. Now, salt's connection with the idea of purity comes from its immaculate whiteness. There was a Roman saying that salt was the purest of all substances because it came from the sun and the sea. Salt was even commingled with the Jewish sacrifices offered in the temple. Jesus is telling us something very clearly. The true Christian must live a life in pursuit of purity. Salt was also connected to the idea of preservation. Salt was a preservative used to keep food from spoiling in a time long before refrigeration. But it was also used to preserve dead bodies. Salt was a means of holding off decomposition and corruption. So if the Christian is to be truly the salt of the earth, he must have a profound and compelling influence on those around him. His life and his actions must engender in his brothers and sisters a desire for virtue and holiness. Finally, salt was strongly connected with flavor. In today's society, we're often very health conscious. We often check to see how much salt's in the food we purchase. But even still, if you sit down at a restaurant today, what's one thing you'll find on every table? Salt. Jesus is telling us that what salt is to food, Christianity must be to life. It should bring flavor to life. There's nothing more paradoxical than a sad and somber Christian. If we're truly living in relationship with God, striving to embody the gospel, we should be a people of unquenchable joy, even in the midst of suffering. We should be a people of unassailable hope, even in the most desperate of situations. One of the things people noticed most about meeting Mother Teresa of Calcutta was her incredible joy. It seemed to radiate from her. A woman living and serving in the poorest people on earth. Yet she radiated joy and love. She gave flavor to the life of everyone around her. But Jesus doesn't end there. He says that Christians must be the light of the world. In chapter 9 of John's Gospel, Jesus had said, "I am the light of the world." And so he's telling us, if you're truly my disciples, my light must radiate in you. Again, think in terms of first century Palestine, a time without electricity, without light bulbs or street lamps or headlights. Night brought utter darkness. But light could show the people the way. A lamp could guide the people safely through the shadows. Jerusalem was called a light to the Gentiles. Their vocation in being called the chosen people of God was to lead all the world to the knowledge of the one true God. Jesus is now bestowing that vocation on the Christian. Your role in life, your primary vocation, the universal call to holiness, the primary reason you're alive is to lead everyone you meet to Jesus Christ. But do we live our daily lives with this mindset? Do we live day to day with the constant intention of leading people to Christ? Not just through our words, not just at Mass, but through our actions, through our attitude when we're sitting in traffic, through our attitude toward the homeless begging on the corner, through how we correct our children, through how we interact with our coworkers, through our speaking up for what's right, even when everyone else falls silent. And above all, through a life infused with prayer. When we forget why we're here, we begin to live as if here is all there is. We have to remember our vocation, to be salt and light. I'm Father Joseph Mary, and thanks for listening to A Simple Word. If you found this reflection helpful, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.